Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Aptrepreneur, and welcome to the Daily Rideshare, where you can get all your daily Uber news, Lyft, and Juno and Ghetto news, although there will be at least one company that we probably will not be discussing for much longer, which is the main story of today. And there is also another main story of the day, and so what I'm going to do, I've decided with this new format, as when there are two main stories of the day, we will put the main story first, and then we'll discuss the main second story last. It kind of seems like an evil way to separate the two main stories to get you to watch the whole video so that you can watch all the little stories in the middle and not just skip them. And that's sort of because that's what it is. And that story of the day, as you probably figured out from the thumbnail and the title, is that C-Jane Go is officially ceasing operations. Many people who drove for C-Jane Go, which in all fairness and in all transparency did not include me, received this email from the company where it would say, "Dear so-and-so, thank you for your tremendous support. It is with great sadness that I inform you that C-Jane Go will cease operations effective January 9th, 2018 at 8 p.m. As a young startup, we have been unable to secure the necessary capital funding to continue our operations. Unfortunately, C-Jane Go will no longer be able to provide ride-hailing services beyond today. I know discontinuing our services will be a significant loss for many that we serve." And that's definitely disappointing. It should be noted that the website for the company is still up as of the time of this recording, but that could definitely change very soon. And my feelings of C-Jane Go closing are a little mixed. Because for one thing, I hate to see competitors go under. I think Uber and Lyft need some real heat. There needs to be a viable third option, kind of like how, we have Republicans and Democrats and, maybe we could use like an independent party member in our elections. That's a strong contender to keep them in check. I think we could definitely use a third competitor to keep Uber and Lyft in check. Unfortunately, it was probably never going to be C-Jane Go because C-Jane Go was marred in controversy from the beginning. For those who are not aware, the concept was very much like Uber and Lyft. You call a ride and you hail it, but the difference was that all the drivers would be female and all the riders would be female, and no men would be allowed unless they could be personally vouched for by the females. This was created in response to a lot of the complaints that female drivers have, that people like I get from people who do not feel safe driving for Uber and Lyft because they don't like the idea of picking up male passengers. And for that matter, if you are a female passenger, you don't always feel safe being picked up by a male driver. And even though I completely understood where the company was coming from and why they founded it the way they did, this was always doomed to fail because by the very nature of only hiring female drivers and only serving female passengers, aka customers, they opened themselves to a lot of discrimination laws. And I know some people are definitely on this opinion that, hey, you know what? Why do the men have to be included? Can't they get over it? It's like, well, you know what? When it comes to hiring, you cannot hire and discriminate based on sex, religion, or, orientation. And this definitely violated a lot of those laws. Another reason the company was doomed to fail is that, frankly, they were not very involved with the rideshare community. Now, it should be noted, I actually talked to one of the founders of C-Jane Go, talked to her on the phone, and we were even scheduled to set up an interview, but she decided not to go through the interview because she wanted the interview to be about the company and the culture, where I wanted to ask questions like, why should drivers drive for you? What are you going to pay them? And apparently, once you started bringing those questions up, they didn't really want to talk to me anymore. And the funny thing is, had we spoken, I would have suggested, and this could have been useful for them, that maybe the idea of C-Jane Go is that you hire anyone to drive and anyone to ride, but that the app would let you have specific preferences where that if you didn't want a male driver or you didn't want a female driver, or if you didn't want like a 25-year-old for whatever reason, you could put that in the app and that would be the customers deciding who they would want to do business with, which has always been perfectly fine. These are ideas I would have loved to have shared with the company, but they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to talk to any of us. And as a result, they're definitely gone now. And I can't say I'm too terribly sorry to see them go, other than the fact that we still don't have that viable third competitor to Uber and Lyft yet. And in the next story, Reuters has reported that Uber has reached a $3 million settlement with New York drivers over fees. According to the article, Uber Technologies Inc. agreed to pay up to $3 million to settle a proposed class action lawsuit brought on behalf of 2,421 drivers in New York who accused the ride-sharing company of docking excessive fees from their fares. A primary settlement was filed. Well, okay, we'll skip that one. But the drivers accused Uber of breach of contract for including sales tax and a black car fund fee, which relates to workers' compensation, and fares which calculate service fees, thereby increasing the amounts owed. They also accuse Uber of false advertising for allegedly offering guaranteed compensation without disclosing the conditions, such as an ad telling drivers they could drive and make $5,000 guaranteed in their first month behind the wheel. The San Francisco company denied all allegations and settled without admitting wrongdoing to avoid the cost of inconvenience of litigation, according to the settlement. And of course, this is a very typical thing for Uber to do, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glad we've got the new format, so that we can, quickly get through these stories really fast, because I don't know what else I could possibly say about this. Uber has done this before, they've settled on this before, they never admit wrongdoing, and yet it keeps coming up, so you have to wonder, Uber, who are you kidding? Really, who are you kidding at this point? For those of you who have forgotten, Uber actually has more than just Uber and Uber Eats. They also have Uber Freight, which is the app for truckers and movers and things like that. We're talking about them because you may have forgotten they existed, and there are new features to apparently help you make more money. I mean, apparently, we'll see. And according to this Digital Trends article, let's see here. Uber Freight, available on both iOS and Android, can almost... Okay, that's... Let's see here. Uber Freight now has two new features, both of which seek to make it easier for drivers to book multiple jobs. Ultimately, Uber noted in a Medium post, the goal is to, quote, deliver an even more seamless experience and help our carriers and their drivers maximize their time and productivity. The first new feature is called Post My Truck, which allows drivers to indicate where and when they will have availability to pick up a load. They can also note the sort of job they're open to, whether it's a short, medium, or long-haul trip, then receive notifications once they've been selected to carry cargo. In many ways, it's much like the way the traditional Uber drivers mark themselves available to pick up human passengers, but Uber says that the technology behind the two features is different. Yeah, this is basically a scheduled ride feature. That's what it is. Then there's the reloads feature, which keeps carriers and their drivers moving in earnings by minimizing empty miles. This, Uber hopes, will keep truckers using Freight rather than switching over to another platform to find work. Is there another platform like Uber Freight? Just asking. With the reloads feature, drivers and carriers alike can see a list of black holes and reloads, which are loads that can be picked up near a trucker's current drop-off location, so they can quickly and easily book their next trip. That means that drivers won't have to waste time looking for a new job in what may be a new city, and can instead keep their income stream up as they continue to take on new cargo. Folks with the Uber Freight app should be able to see the new Post My Truck feature on the app now, whereas reloads will make an appearance in a few weeks on both Android and iOS. So here's the thing. I'm not a trucker, obviously. I did a little roadie, and I still do roadie once in a while. So this is a little foreign to me, but, it sounds like a good idea. Keep the truckers moving, more transparency in what the jobs are. This is honestly what the regular Uber app needs, which Uber Freight people are getting. So I'm glad that they're at least getting it. And now this story isn't necessarily important, but I just have to include it because it's really funny, because if nothing will totally destroy your confidence in Lyft's background check, then this is it. And that's apparently a car was stolen, and when they got it back, they found it had Lyft stickers and 11,000 more miles on it. Looking at this article from SF Gate, let's see here. Sierra and Josh Barton purchased a new Honda HR-V at the beginning of the summer. It was stolen while parked in front of their Livermore apartment complex at the end of August. 4 months later, Hayward police called the Bartons to say they had recovered the vehicle. What condition is it in? Burned out? Gutted? Sierra Barton recalled thinking as she and her husband drove to the holding lot last week. I was imagining the worst when we went to pick it up. What they found to their surprise was a car in relatively good shape. A few dents, a rattling hood, but in the back and front windows were Lyft stickers, Sierra Barton said. The odometer had spiked from 2,000 miles to more than 13,000, and in the back seat, Sierra said she found a pillow, a jacket, and a stuffed animal. Quote, it wasn't burnt out, it wasn't gutted, but it appeared to have been used as a lift. That, Sierra added, was even worse than she imagined. Not only did someone steal our car, they made money off of it. Hayward police spokesman Tasha DeCosta said the vehicle was found in Hayward. It had been abandoned and sitting on the roadside for about 2 weeks. And when asked about what sort of safeguards Lyft has in place to prevent stolen vehicles from being registered, Lyft gave SF Gate the following statement, quote, the safety of the Lyft community is our top priority, and we take these allegations seriously. Given the information provided, we are unable to match this vehicle to any Lyft accounts in the area. We have reached out to Ms. Barton, and we stand ready to assist law enforcement in any investigation. According to Lyft's California driver application requirements, required documents include a vehicle inspection form, a California driver's license, and a personal vehicle insurance, a driver photo, and a California license plate, which it should be noted, if your car is stolen, most people keep things like the insurance and the registration in the glove compartment box, so it's not exactly like that information wouldn't be available to someone if they had indeed stolen the car. Barton said the car was so new, it still had paper dealership plates at the time of the theft. To add to the mystery, DaCosta said a metal plate registered to the vehicle was discovered by Pleasanton police weeks ago. A 2015 National Insurance Crime Bureau report found that the Bay Area had the highest number of... Okay, well, anyway, so, yeah, that's just a really funny story. And in all fairness, we don't know for sure whether or not that's what actually happened, but there was really no reason for us not to believe it. If the car was stolen and it came back with Lyft stickers and like 11,000 miles, it pretty much means that the car was being used for lifting, and the fact that it was a relatively new car that still had the dealership plates that may have helped to get through the background check, but nonetheless, it's not exactly a comforting thought when you think about your vehicle being stolen and being used for a Lyft and even potentially Uber somewhere down the road. Then this next story is one that I personally love, but apparently there is a play about Uber set to open in London this spring, and it is called Brilliant Jerks. According to iNews, a play written about the trials and tribulations of the world's largest ride-hailing app is set to open in London next March. Brilliant Jerks will cover the company's past, present, and legacy from the fictional perspectives of three characters. Young mother Mia, who drives for the company in Manchester, graduate Benji, who starts work in the London office, and Travis Kalanick, former Uber chief executive and ex-advisor to Donald Trump. I don't know if he was much of an advisor to Donald Trump, but okay. The play will run from 14-18 March 2018 with a matinee on 17 March at the Vaults Theatre in Waterloo, London. It's written by Joseph Charlton and directed by Rosie Bonham. It's a mixture of journalism and fiction. Journafiction, maybe, says writer Joseph Charlton. I interviewed tens of drivers, hopefully more than that, over the last year or so, and also spoke to quite a few ex-office workers at the company. We're really excited about it, but we don't want to say too much about it at this point, basically. The title draws on comments made by Uber board member and Huffington Post founder Arianna Huffington in a staff meeting in June when she proclaimed Uber's future would include no more brilliant jerks. So, I don't know. That's kind of a brief time for that to be playing, but I hope it succeeds because I would love to see it. In fact, if anybody who produces that play is watching this, anyone at all, I'm going to be very, very shameless in plugging myself at the moment. Please, I would love to see it. If you fly me over to London and show me to see it, I will do interviews with the cast. I will do a video review of it. I'm a huge Broadway fan. I know this isn't a musical, but I would love to see this show. And if it comes to the U.S., the offer still stands. I would just love to see this. So if anyone producing that show is watching this, all my contact information is below, and hopefully it's a smashing success. And now for our final story of the day. This is kind of the second main story, but it's kind of more opinion as well, I have to be honest. And that is that an auto executive has admitted that the driverless cars they're not 2 years away. According to Jalopink, auto execs finally admit our driverless future isn't like 2 years away. You get so much at CES these days. Microchips, VR headsets, robots, gadgets for olds, and desperate pleas for VC money. But one thing you don't often get is realism. But at this year's tech show, auto and startup executives alike are tamping down expectations about when our autonomous driverless robot car future will happen. No kidding, guys. And I just want to stop for a moment and point out that a comment like that is actually... that means that this is basically not a news article. This is an editorial, because you wouldn't get away with having an opinion like that in a news piece. But let's continue. The eye-opening account of this newfound pragmatism on autonomous vehicles comes to us from Bloomberg, which describes tepid future takes from bosses at Toyota, Hyundai, Bosch, Lyft, and more. Quote, "It's a mistake to say that the finish line is coming up very soon," said Gil Pratt, Chief Executive Officer of Toyota Research Institute, the car maker's 1 billion unit work on artificial intelligence and robotics. "Things are changing rapidly, but this will be a long journey." South Korea's largest automaker is projecting an even longer time frame than Toyota for when it will be able to deliver almost fully self-driving vehicles. After announcing a deal to collaborate on the technology with U.S. startup Aurora Innovation, whose founders hail from Tesla Inc. and Alphabet Inc.'s Waymo, Hyundai stated it's targeting so-called Level 4 capacity by 2021. The fuel cell vehicle the company debuted at the show, called Nexo, can automatically park itself to space and back with or without a driver. And just to let you know what that means, Level 4 is not the level you can be at for these things to be on the road full time. You have to get a couple more levels up than that. We take very conservative steps, Lee Jin-woo, Vice President of Hyundai's Intelligent Safety Technology Center in Namyang, South Korea, said in an interview at CES. We want to test and validate the technology first. It will not be for sale in 2021. Only testing in city usage. Indeed, even Lyft's chief strategy officer is out there saying the ride-hailing service will need human drivers for a very long time. And indeed, in 10 years, it will need even more drivers than it has now due to demand. Y'all made fun of me for making that "it's not 10 years in the future, it's here now" comments. Huh? You made fun of me for that, but there it is. Lyft themselves, they admit it. 10 years, they might even need more of us. So anyway, the rest of this article is Patrick George's, who wrote this article, his personal opinion. But yeah, so I've said a lot, but that says all you need to know. And I know that we've hit some milestones, like the Uber self-driving cars have racked up 1 million miles on the road, and they're being tested in cities. And at CES, Lyft is even using self-driving technology to pick people up. But there's a few things to keep in mind. One, those 1 million miles that they're talking about, those aren't 1 million unmanned miles. Those are 1 million miles on the vehicle, period. That includes the miles that the humans had to take over and interact with the car. As for CES, yes, those cars would work pretty well at CES because they planned months in advance the routes and pretty much everything that could happen so that those cars could run smoothly. But it's one little area and it's one event, and everything was set up to make sure it ran as perfectly as it could, barring any unforeseen accidents. And we should definitely acknowledge that this was planned very carefully, but the level of working on that level for everywhere else is just simply not there yet. That's where we're going to end today's video. What do you folks think about any of these stories? Are you happy, mad, indifferent? What do you think about the play? Are any of you sad to see CJ Go close? And what were your thoughts of the company? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy the videos I produce, consider becoming a patron member for as little $1 a day. And as always, flame responsibly, and I will see you tomorrow on the Daily Rideshare. Have a good one.